I bet you by the end of this video, you'll be left wondering if this was the smartest knockout ever recorded in the golden history of boxing. It's no secret that the rivalry between Russia and the United States of America has always been much more than just a sporting one. However, when we focus solely on the noble art of fistfighting, it's about different styles, thoughts, and ways of seeing the world that create diverse ways of fighting inside the ring. When he appeared on the horizon, this quiet Russian kid seemed harmless, especially since the American audience had never heard of him before. Compared to his rival, a rising HBO star, his name seemed out of place in the spotlight. However, the energy transmitted by the entire environment was different. In Las Vegas, it felt as if something unusual was about to happen. It was July 2010, and the protagonist of this story is none other than Dmitry Pirog, a fighter who demonstrated his intensity in the ring, making a clean statement with his powerful right hand. "I'm here, and I'm here to stay." Stay until the end to witness a message that resonates in the ears of non-believers even today. Take my hand and let's go back to the summer of 2010, when a low-profile 34-year-old fighter entered the ring to change the course of history. Dmitry Pirog, without any hint of emotion, without any other light than necessary on him, and without big names behind him, was just a man who possessed in his fists an unmatched force and an unpredictable style. Without even fitting in with the European fighters, Pirog wasn't simply a boxer who followed the 1-2-3 script to the letter. Even when he moved too much or trapped himself and forced himself to fight at angles where no one would be able to get an offense off, he found a shortcut to victory. To dismiss him, his detractors often said that Pirog was a fighter who relied on his strange technique to achieve success, an idea that didn't last long after what happened that strange night. Unfortunately, in the ring, in the other corner, was none other than Daniel the Miracle Man Jacobs. You've probably heard of him. He entered that arena in Las Vegas with a record unmarred by the bitter taste of defeat. Of his 20 victories, 17 of them had come by way of knockout. Not only did the promoters love him, but ESPN did too, and HBO had its eyes on him to make him the sport's next big star. Smiling at the cameras, he assured the press that he didn't see any kind of real competition in the Russian, and as if that weren't enough, the World Boxing Organization added a little more spice to the fight by awarding the vacant middleweight belt as a benefit. What everyone assumed seemed to be true, that they were looking for an easy opportunity to give Jacobs a title so he could take the next big step in his career. Pirog would simply be a test of fire in the ring, one of those fighters who allow them to showcase their skills and test new strategies on their opponents, but who are incapable of providing real competition. Unfortunately for him, fate is finicky by nature, and the course of events didn't necessarily follow as planned. The Russian proved that using him as a pig to the slaughter had been the biggest mistake of those who simply wanted to see the American triumph. The Miracle Man lost his faith that night. From the start, Pirog dominated the center of the ring without losing his characteristic composure. Eventually, he began to move in a manner uncharacteristic for a boxer, with body language that made his moves impossible to predict. Even though his big attacks hadn't even begun, Jacobs didn't know what to do.
Play here for competition, but it's no insult of whom could have a terrific career in the sport, either of whom could conceivably be a legitimate middleweight champion. But to call that now is absurd.
Well, right away you saw Danny Jacobs come back.
We've seen it a couple of times.
But Danny Jacobs still has not found a way really to affect him.
In the second round, Pirog threw a double combination that shook Jacobs' world a bit, but it was enough to demonstrate the vulnerability no fighter wants to expose in the ring, much less during the early rounds.
Good trained in his corner and Victor Roundtree. Very good. I don't want to say, but
right hand by Pirog. Jacobs almost went down.
I was going to say, but
Still, Pirog decided not to push his luck, and instead of going for the quick knockout, maintained his offensive tempo and added significantly more pressure on the American. It was clear that the Russian was gauging how much pressure he needed to break the opponent who had underestimated him.
Victor Roundtree
he's going to have his hands full tonight, trying to plot a strategy. I know they were, especially if it's his first time fighting. You can say he's made quite a few trips here attending fights.
For a week, says he didn't take that all that easily to American food around here in the hotel because that wasn't really Russian food to him. He's beating
He's a very difficult guy to fight.
You know, there's an improvisational quality to what Pirog does.
As I said, he moves his head in and out.
As if by a miracle, Jacobs began to find his own rhythm during rounds 3 and 4. He was able to land a couple of punches on the Russian that kept him in contention for the win, but Pirog proved to be much more than just a puncher. He had the stamina and nerve to react to the new level of offense from the predicted champion of the night, moving in a distinctive manner and throwing aggressive punches with a conflicting style that seemed a blend of his best before him yet still retained his strange brand of originality.
First round with good, strong right hands. Pirog beat the heck out of him in the second round.
And forward.
I think it was a pretty close
he
call.
He was bending when he regained his balance, and that's
but
I
on
think
the replay looking for exactly that, and I think his bustery's in there for him, which need to be solved.
They've saw the boxing different. Do a lot of fake in there, but I haven't saw him land too much, except the first time he did it, he was...
King to Jacobs in there.
For a split second in the 5th round, Jacobs managed to land a powerful left hand on Pirog. He thought it would be enough to get over the top, but instead it was one of the biggest mistakes he could have made in his professional career. He misjudged the Russian's reactivity, who immediately dodged it and launched a right double that landed with ease. No one could believe it. The night's big favorite hadn't just been besieged in every round up to that point. He was taken to the ropes and punished like a rookie. Jacobs' body now lay on his back, sprawled on the canvas. His arms were spread wide like someone who had clearly been defeated, but his pride sent a clear impulse through his body. You need to get up.
Good comeback left hook by Jacobs there.
I think he just told him hit me low, but a big issue of it, which I think is good.
Yeah, I didn't see
it. Was low. It was low, but I don't think it was intentional, and I don't think it was...
Oh, down goes Jacobs on a perfect right hand.
For Jacobs, it wouldn't just be his first defeat. He'd be losing the belt that was meant to be the next big step in his career. It was a defining moment, and he knew he had to do the inhumane to achieve it, even though the Russian nobleman he'd underestimated was already making headlines the next morning. The referee initiated the safety count and followed it strictly until that impulse from Jacobs, where he noticed something unusual was really happening to him and wouldn't let him back into the fight. Jacobs never left the canvas despite his attempts, and some say this was also a way to protect him from a much more severe defeat. But the referee was banking on a clean knockout instead of a humiliation in front of his home crowd. The crowd was starting to turn around because Pirog had left them no choice but to start applauding him. There was a new champion in the ring, and he wasn't exactly the person everyone had expected when they entered the arena that night. The outcome of the fight had been as unpredictable as the Russian's moves, even as the knockout that was waiting to give him a victory. So, after 10 seconds, which must have felt like an eternity for the Miracle Man, the decision had already been made. She had been marked by the fists of a noble fighter who came to the arena as a nobody and emerged champion. The commentators started a new narrative by claiming it was the birth of a new star. And just like that, everything began to change. Pirog's name began to resonate in the right places, while Jacobs's began to fade. Now, the image of him was that of a promising fighter dying on the canvas in his first big fight. Once beloved by the heavyweights outside the ring, he began to be despised. It serves no purpose to boost a young star who loses to unknowns. That night, Pirog not only managed to win against all odds, he stole the moment, and that's why he's the undisputed star of this video. If you didn't know him, you'd better catch up. He's a quiet and modest figure, but that doesn't mean he's any less interesting. If you've made it this far, thank you. Remember, there's no better way to support my content than by liking the video. What do you think went wrong for Daniels that night? Is your faith in the Miracle Man still intact after this trivial setback in his career? I'll read you in the comments.